We need to talk about Augmentation Evoker right now. It is completely broken for Mythic Plus and it is enabling some crazy keys to be done. We're only a few days into 10.1.5, but we are already seeing plus 29s being completed. And there is one comp which is just completely ruling the roofs right now. And that is Guardian Druid, Holy Paladin, Mage, Augmentation Evoker, and Shadow Priest. Mage, I don't think Azuna's actually been playing Frost. I think he's been playing Fire. Fire is completely busted. Like, it is doing so much damage. Maybe you play Frost at the moment because of Spiteful, but I'm pretty certain from when I've been watching Azuna stream, and he's been playing Fire in high key, so I think that's Fire Mage. It's not actually Frost. But Fire Mage is broken. Augmentation is just incredible. It's doing way more damage than I anticipated. And then Shadow Priest is still just as good as before, still incredibly strong in terms of damage output, and it brings incredible utility that you need in a lot of these keys. Holy Paladin has been completely solidified as the best in-slot healer, in my opinion. There's nothing that comes close. You just have healing. Whenever you need it, you have healing now on Holy Paladin. Honestly, it's incredible. I really think that there's not much that's going to change in terms of this comp. I think this comp is pretty much nailed on. There are some variances in both tanks and DPS. Like, for instance, we can see here it's Shadow Priest, Balanced Druid, Augmentation Evoker. I do think that Fire Mage does more than enough damage over balance right now that it would be brought. We're seeing, I think there's one enhance on the front page here as well, so there's an enhance over a Shadow Priest. Otherwise, Augmentation Evoker is in every single group, and Holy Paladin is in every single group, which is just nuts. It's crazy, and it's all being enabled, I think, because of Augmentation. The amount of utility that this spec brings to Mythic Plus is just second to none. It is unbelievably good in what it brings to a Mythic Plus comp. So we'll get onto the reasons why this is happening, and I'll run through some of the abilities and show you probably why you want to main swap if you want to play Flavor of the Month, because it is really that good. But let's have a look at the damage contributions right now, because it's kind of hard to assess it before the patch comes out. I said in my tier list, I had it in A, so I had Augmentation just behind Mage. So I had Shadow Priest, Fire Mage, Frost Mage, Augmentation. I said at the time that if it did 95% of the other DPSs in the group in terms of damage numbers, it will be played and it probably will be S tier, and it's doing more than that. So if we have a look at a 28 Underrot that was done yesterday, this is Dryny's team, Speed, we just saw them on the front keys, right? This comp has an Augmentation Evoker that is doing as much damage as a Shadow Priest. And bear in mind that I'm not entirely sure, I thought the hook wasn't working for Psychic Link, but it must be, I think, to be getting these sort of numbers. Specifically in Raid though, Augmentation doesn't look as good as this because you don't get pet damage getting hooked in, for example, but Warcraft logs are doing an excellent job of pulling in all the damage contributions of an Augmentation Evoker, and you can see here, they are doing as much damage as the other DPS, and because they're doing as much damage as the other DPS, what does that mean? It means their utility is second to none, like I said, and they are going to be brought to every single comp, in my opinion, at the high end. Try not to pay too much attention to Fire Mage here as well, which is just doing, what's that, like 15% more damage than Shadow Priest, which is nuts. It's almost definitely going to get nerfed. I think it deserves like a 10% nerf. Sorry, Fire Mages, if you're watching, but really right now, that spec is completely broken. Have your fun while it lasts. You will be topping the damage meters in every single piece of content right now because it's so good. But I do think it needs a nerf because Shadow Priest was so broken in last patch and it's doing this much more than a Shadow Priest. The one thing to note is if this Fire Mage comes down, then also Augmentation Evoker's damage is going to come down, because obviously a lot of your damage comes from buffing others, so if this drops down, this is going to drop down as well. But like we said, this is doing as much, so it's going to be incredibly good. This is even what happens at lower keys. This is just a random plus 20 that I looked at, and look at this, it's still doing as much damage, right? It's getting gapped here by this Shadow Priest, but at 4-4-3 item level, it's still doing as much as the other specs in here. And that shows that even at lower levels, if you are playing and pugging, you're still going to be fine. You're never going to be able to carry the damage meters if you're pugging. That's never going to happen. But what you are going to be able to carry is the utility, and it's because of the spells that you have and the amount of sustainability that you bring to the group whilst maintaining this amount of damage. So if we just hop over to in-game, what is it that Augmentation brings that means that it's a one-of in every single comp right now? And why is it S tier? The reasons are as follows. Firstly, obviously we have Ebon Might. That's where most of your damage is coming from. So Ebon Might, your basic ability here, this is buffing everyone in your group by your primary stat. So the more primary stat that you have, the more damage that this is going to give. After that, we have our mastery. So mastery is essentially giving others versatility. I don't have that much mastery right now, so I increase the versatility of others within the group by 7%. But if I had more, which most people have around 20% mastery, I'll be giving out 20% versatility for 11 seconds. And again, that duration gets increased every single time I use an empowered ability. That is a 10% damage reduction whenever I'm using Fire Breath or Upheaval. On average, they go out roughly every 30 seconds. There is some cooldown reduction that happens with Upheaval. We also have time skip, so we get them out roughly every 30 seconds approximately. That means 33 to 50% of the time, you are giving your other 2 DPS in the group a 10% damage reduction. That's incredible, right? That is really, really good. We then also have Draconic attunements. That means that you can attune yourself to give the rest of the party 4% max HP. Baseline 4% max HP. Versatility being up 50% of the time. Let's just guess at 10% damage reduction. That's a 5% natural damage reduction that you're giving out to your DPS players. You then have Aspect's Favor here. That means whenever you press Obsidian Scales, that increases to 16% for 13.1 seconds. Effectively, Obsidian Scales is a 1.5 minute recharge, but because you get 2 stacks of it, right, because we have 2 stacks of it, you're going to be able to use it roughly every minute on a boss in Mythic Plus, right? So that means every single minute you have a rally. You have an effective rally buff every single minute. We still have Zephyr, a 20% DR on 2 minutes. We have Twin Guardian, which when we use Rescue, means we get a 30% max HP shield on us and the person that we've used it on. Yeah. We then have Cauterizing Flame. Incredibly useful again. We then also have 4 AoE stops. We have Breath of Eons, this stuns. We have Upheaval, this is an AoE knockup. We then have Wing Buffet, and also we have Tail Swipe. That's 4 AoE stops. As part of our damage rotation, we'll be using Blistering Scales on the tank as well. This is increasing their armor by 30% of your own. It's fairly decent. But then we also take Molten Blood. This is a 150k shield that lasts for 30 seconds based on their missing health. You gain a larger shield with low HP, but effectively say you use this pretty well, you're going to be getting 100k to 150k shield. You can also use Verdant Embrace, which is a relatively good single target heal still. That's a free global. Most of the time you're going to be using these globals, so say you use Rescue, you use Verdant Embrace, maybe you use Blistering Scales, when you would have been spamming Living Flame, and this barely contributes to your damage. If we come back here and look at what, pretty sure this is fired up, right? How much damage comes from Living Flames? 174 casts of this, and it's only doing 4.6% damage. If you drop a few of those casts to do some healing, it really doesn't matter. Look at this. We've got, how many presses? 14 presses of Verdant Embrace here. 17 casts of Emerald Blossom, right? Doing this much healing. Living Flames being cast on others for healing. So that's only 2 casts. I guess that's an AoE healing. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible how much healing you can do without losing any DPS, because you're only losing a few casts of Living Flame, which already does nothing because you're a support class and all of your damage comes from buffing others. So the entire package, when we're looking at it, you make everyone incredibly tanky, you're helping with healing throughput, and you have 4 AoE stops, and you've got a 20-second kick, which isn't the best in the world, but it's good enough. It's just absolutely incredible in my opinion, and I think if you want to play Flavor of the Month right now, I would be playing Augmentation Evoker. Having said that, it's not the best whenever you're just pugging, because you can't carry the damage meters. Like I said, you're always going to be around the bottom of the damage meters, even when considering all of the hooks that you get from Warcraft logs, because most of your damage comes from how much damage the others are doing. So just given that fact, you're obviously not going to be able to carry the damage meters. You're always going to be lower down the damage meters, but you can carry survivability as this spec. You can absolutely carry the group survivability, and that means a lot when you're pugging in Mythic Plus. So I myself, I am going to be re-rolling to Augmentation Evoker. I am on that hype train. I'm going to be playing it for my M Plus push team, and I am going to be the one that's making the change. I'm going to get one geared up in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to start pushing on it almost immediate, because I don't really need gear to push an Augmentation Evoker. As long as I can survive, then it's fine. my own damage doesn't really contribute that much to the overall key. It's just the buffs that I can give out. As long as I've got a lot of mastery, I'm going to be there. So I'm going to start gearing immediately, and then in 2 weeks' time, we're going to start pushing. So I am very, very excited about this. I can't wait. I'm going to be that utility that I've always wanted to be. I'm going to have that Swiss Army knife of buttons to press for every single scenario. I'm going to be able to help people survive whilst also helping the others in terms of their damage. And I really can't wait to get onto this hype train. I really hope that Blizzard stick with releasing support classes in the future. If we get up to the point where we've got 5 or 6 support classes and Blizzard really consider support as part of the meta and it's no longer just a holy trinity, there are then 4 key functions, 4 key pillars of any comp: a tank, a healer, a support class, and DPS. I really hope they address the issue, which is the fact that at the moment, there's going to be far too many DPS for those slots in Mythic Plus. If you need a tank, a healer, and a support, there's only 1 support class currently, Augmentation Evoker. That means the rest of the DPS have to slot into 2 slots. That is going to be really, really hard whenever you're pugging as a DPS player now. I'm not saying that every single pug group is going to wait around for Augmentation Evoker, but it might be that a lot of people are. So you're going to be taking longer to get into groups as DPS, even when it's pretty hard to already. There's a very, very small bottleneck and a small number of people that are playing tanks and healers. Now you've got 1 spec that's fulfilling support role. I hope they increase party size in the future to 6 to enable us to maintain 3 DPS with 1 tank, 1 healer, 1 support. I think that would make much more sense. And I really hope that they introduce more support specs. Maybe they change some of the specs that are currently in the game to be support. So I don't know, maybe Disc Priest, so you don't have 2 healing specs on a single class. I'm not saying, if you really like Disc Priest, maybe that's not the right choice. Maybe Arcane Mage, who knows? But maybe they change some others so we get a few more in the near term. But if this is really going to stick around and we are going to have support specs in the game, I hope we get more, and I hope we move towards that 3 and 3. 3 support roles, 3 DPS roles. I think that's going to be much more well-rounded in the future. Anyway, I would love to know what you think of the meta currently. Are you going to be thinking about playing Augmentation Evoker? Are you excited that a support role is finally coming into the game? I think this is a huge shift in the meta, like I said at the start of the video, and I am very, very excited, but I would love to gauge what the rest of you are thinking. So let me know in the comments down below. As always with the outros of my videos, I want to give a huge shout out to my few patrons. I don't have many, but you really do mean a lot to me, so thank you so much. The consistent income is absolutely incredible, so I really do appreciate you guys. If you would also potentially like to support me beyond a thumbs up and a subscribe, then you could check out my Patreon as well. I do offer some things in return. Having said that, hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, we will catch you in the next one. Peace.